The fire in your chest ignites from a single sentence, not because they are powerful, but because you unconsciously handed them the key. From that moment, you left your own orbit and began living in the energy they created. When you pause, inhale as if space itself were inhaling you. The turbulent layers of vibration begin to settle. The field around your body reorganizes. Your heartbeat slows. The brain leaves the noisy beta state and touches the alpha waves. Gentle as a lake before dawn, you do not become cold. You return to the seat of the frequency operator. The darkness outside is only a reflection of an unlit point within. The more you look, the softer and warmer it becomes. The revelation here is simple, beyond argument. Your emotion is your authority, and you have the right to reclaim the key right now. A harsh word is a signal. It is not destiny. The signal can pass through the body like static or become a storm. The difference lies in where you stand relative to the axis of stillness. When you are far from the axis, the nervous system falls into survival mode. Vision narrows. The mind chooses threats. When you are near the axis, breathing and heart rate variability synchronize. The frontal brain shines like a blade, resting on cool steel. It is not about extinguishing the fire, but shifting the perspective from the one triggered to the one observing, from the victim of waves to the tuner of waves. And right at that intersection, something breaks open in silence. You are not fighting the world. You are simply returning to your original frequency so that the world realigns itself. See the mechanism: words touch memory. Memory triggers old circuits. Old circuits pull you back into your own history. The more you react, the more you repeat, the more you repeat, the deeper the spiral. But when you stop feeding that circuit with a breath longer than usual, energy withdraws from the old path and forms a new one. Order germinates within chaos. Light rises within darkness. Love unfolds amid the contraction of fear. DNA is not just the code of the body. It is also the reel recording the rhythm of safety, and you can retrain that reel through consistent presence. It is not about denying emotion, but giving it a broad palm to pass through, and at the end of that movement, truth flashes. True power has never lived in reaction. It resides in the pause you protect. When you choose rhythm, the field around you changes structure. Soft but clear boundaries appear. Noise falls away, and others' words return to what they are: ripples on the surface, not dense enough to pierce your depth. You step out of the ego's need to be right and into the soul's frequency of being aligned. The less you prove, the more you are, the less you defend, the more you create, in the rhythm of inhaling for 4, exhaling for 6. You hear the universe pass through your lungs like an ancient chant. Do not resist. Harmonize. Do not suppress. Elevate. Do not conquer others. Simply stop losing yourself. And that is the mark of inner sovereignty when the key returns to your hand. From now on, anyone may create waves, but only you decide which ocean you stand in. The moment you lose your calm, the energy within collapses from the central axis. All brain waves fall out of the creative range and sink into survival frequencies. The body contracts. The breath quickens. The vision narrows like a tunnel seen through fear. You think you are reacting for protection, but in truth, you have stepped away from the seat of the Creator. In the quantum field, there are only 2 directions of oscillation: expansion and contraction, creation and defense. When you are angry, the entire system shifts into defense, and at that point, you are no longer living. You are merely enduring. Losing calm is not just an emotion. It is a biological signal that you have lost access to higher intelligence. The frontal brain, home of analysis, imagination, and intuition, shuts down, giving control to ancient survival circuits. Your body no longer reads the world through light, but through the shadow of memory. Each time you become angry, you are not reacting to the present, but to an old wound, an image stored in your cells, a memory loop yet to be released. You no longer see the person before you. You see the image buried within. Thus, you are not communicating with the world. You are replaying yourself. Look deeper. When emotional energy erupts, The bioelectric coherence between heart and brain collapses. The magnetic field loses rhythm. Information ceases to flow in harmony. That is the moment when consciousness leaves the creative stream like a string detuned. The sound distorts. When you try to speak, every word carries the distortion of lower frequency. The more you try to prove, the more your energy scatters. The more you try to win, the lower your vibration drops. Meanwhile, true strength always comes from stability, a field that is still, luminous, capable of directing reality without pressure. You cannot construct a new reality while vibrating in the frequency of chaos. Try breathing deeply, allowing anger to move through your body instead of clinging to the mind. When you observe the heat without merging, without resisting, merely seeing it pass, you are drawing yourself back to the creative center. That center is not in the head but in the still point between heart and breath, where energy reorders itself. From that point, every emotional wave can be transformed into information, every turbulence into rhythm. When you are calm, you are not swept away by emotion. You become the conductor of your own neural symphony. Power does not lie in suppressing emotion, but in seeing through it. When you see anger, it loses control. When you stay with it without reaction, energy refines from crude to pure. Anger is fire, and when seen through the light of awareness, it becomes fuel for consciousness. Losing calm is stepping out of the creative center, but with a single breath, you can return. As you inhale, you reclaim scattered energy. As you exhale, you release all resistance. In that rhythm, order returns, light returns, and you stand once again in your true position, not the one pulled by waves, but the one who creates them. Have you ever realized that most of the time, we do not truly live in the present, but in the echo of unresolved reactions? A small word, a fleeting glance, and your mind instantly turns into a battlefield between the past and the present. You no longer see the other person. You only see the memory of how many times you were hurt. The outer world does not take away your peace. It is the unconscious repetition within you that does. When you see this mechanism, you begin to regain control, not of others, but of your own energy. If, in the moment of being triggered, you are calm enough to ask, "What am I reacting to them?" or "the old wound inside me," then the very moment the question arises, the emotional wave begins to shift phase. Breath returns. The heartbeat eases. Energy moves upward from the belly to the heart, then dissolves into still space. When you observe, instead of resist, the brain's energy pattern shifts from beta to alpha, from chaos to order, and at that exact moment, the universe hears you. You have returned to the position of the creator. I want to ask you this gently. As the wind touches the surface of water, do you notice that deep down, every time you remain calm instead of exploding, the world around you seems a little brighter? Something settles, as if space itself breathes with you. Because when you hold the rhythm, reality changes its phase. The energy you emit is no longer a reaction, but a signal of awareness. From there, everything that comes to you arrives lighter, warmer, and closer to the frequency of peace. I believe you have felt something by now, maybe a memory, maybe a moment of stillness, maybe the sound of a deep breath you just realized you had forgotten. Share it, even in one short line, in the comment section below. One sentence from you could be a small beam of light that helps someone see themselves again. A word you write might be the very answer someone needs on a silent night. Write what you feel most. Right now, it does not need to be perfect. Only true. Because in the current of communication, every sincere sharing is a bridge of light between two consciousnesses, and for me, the one sending you these vibrations. Your presence is the greatest gift. Thank you for pausing amid the stream of life, for listening and resonating with me. I can feel you, somewhere in this space, inhaling, exhaling, returning to the same rhythm, and that is the reason every word I say finds meaning. True strength does not lie in reacting fast, but in maintaining still rhythm while the entire world is trembling. When someone attacks you with words, when a situation suddenly breaks your plan, when everything seems to go against you, Most people will instantly react, but you will not. You pause, inhale, and feel the energy about to ignite. In that moment, you do not extinguish the fire, you observe it. You let it burn without letting it consume. And in that act of non-action, you shift to another frequency, the frequency of the one who commands reality. Anger is chaotic vibration, but calmness is a resonant field. When you hold the rhythm of stillness, others' waves cannot penetrate, like sound hitting a soft wall. The energy dissipates without harm. The calmer you are, the further you see, the clearer you become. When the mind is agitated, your vision serves only the ego. When the mind is still, you perceive the whole system, cause, effect, cycle, and the necessity of every disturbance. It is not silence out of fear, but silence out of clarity, not inaction, but action from stillness where movement becomes directed, will, no longer blind reflex. Holding still rhythm is not suppression. Suppression is closing the valve. Stillness is opening without overflowing. When energy is properly directed, emotion becomes current that nourishes intelligence instead of burning the body and mind. That is why truly strong people always have calm eyes. They do not need to prove, to win an argument, or to project energy outward for validation. They know their peace itself is the invisible wall where all chaos stops. In physics, the strongest wave is the one with stable phase. In consciousness, the greatest power is the one unmoved by any vibration. You can verify this in the smallest details. When someone tries to drag you into an argument, just keep your breath steady. When an unexpected event occurs, observe your body before reacting. Instantly, the brain shifts from beta to alpha, then from alpha to theta, where intuition becomes a map. You no longer act from fear, but from vision. While others panic, you already see the connection, the opening. This is the silent strength. Few notice, for it makes no noise, cannot be displayed, yet can turn circumstances through stability. The one who keeps still rhythm does not resist life's flow, they adjust it. When you reach that point, others' emotions no longer have the right to decide how you vibrate. You become the conductor amid the orchestra of surrounding frequencies, not because you are stronger, but because you have structure. True strength does not need to erupt, for it has already been established as a steady field within your heart. One steady breath, one unbroken gaze, one unrushed decision. That is how you influence the world without contention. When you can hold stillness amid chaos, you do not just hold yourself. You hold the rhythm of the entire reality around you. There are two subtle states that govern your entire existence: defense or creation. At every moment, your mind can stand in only one of the two. When you fall into defense, you contract like the nucleus of fear, all energy directed toward preservation. When you are in creation, you expand like a blossoming field of light, all energy devoted to generation. These two states cannot coexist, just as inhaling and exhaling cannot occur simultaneously. You are either building walls or opening doors. The defensive state begins when the body senses danger, real or imagined. A wrong look, a misplaced word, an old memory suddenly returns, and the nervous system instantly pulls you into survival mode. Heart raterises, muscles tense. The brain reduces blood flow to the thinking regions and operates purely by reflex. In that instant, you are no longer creating, you are repeating. Emotions become recycled data, and every decision made in that energy field is limited by fear. You build walls, hold arguments, resist, and in doing so, create nothing new. You only defend the old. By contrast, the creative state is when you feel safe within yourself. When your breath slows, when your defenses drop, the brain and heart begin to resonate. Alpha and gamma waves emerge, opening a completely different frequency range, where intuition and reason unite. You no longer think only with the head, you feel with the entire body. Every idea, every action flows from a foundation of order and freedom. You do not strive to create, you simply stop fearing. When fear dissolves, the creation returns for it, is the original nature of consciousness. Each time you ask yourself, "What should I do now?" Pause and check where your mind stands. If there is tension, contraction, speed, and a need to prove, you are in defense mode. If there is openness, softness, and steady rhythm, you are in creation. Defense steals time. Creation expands space. Defense is the sound of the past. Creation is the rhythm of the present. Transitioning between them requires no effort, only awareness and breath. One deep breath is the bridge. It draws the mind out of battle mode, returns energy to the center, and opens the door of wisdom. In the quantum world, all energy seeks stability. A creative mind, emitting stable waves, causes reality to restructure around it. A defensive mind constantly sends chaotic waves, attracting situations that make it defend even more. That is the loop of those who have not learned to pause. You cannot create a new life with old energy. When you drop the shield, you do not weaken. You return to the essence, strong enough to need no protection. Let each breath remind you, I do not need to defend. I only need to be present. And when you are truly present, creativity is no longer an act, but a state. In stillness, you begin to see clearly that the universe opposes no one. It merely responds to the frequency each person emits. When you broadcast the signal of creation, you do not just change the world, you become the very current creating it. Inner freedom is not doing whatever you want. It is no longer being ruled by what you do not see. When others' emotions can no longer touch your center, when outer noise no longer shakes your inner rhythm, you begin to live from your original frequency. It is not coldness, it is a deep warmth, like a still lake beneath a star-filled sky, reflecting all yet holding nothing. In that state, you no longer need to prove or win. You simply stay aligned with the frequency your soul has chosen. Each person is born with a unique rhythm, a vibrational map woven from soul memory, experience, and intention. When you live away from that rhythm, energy drains, the body tires, the mind becomes restless, and reality distorts. When you live in tune with your core frequency, everything aligns. The right people appear, the right opportunities flow, and time itself seems to bend in your favor. Not because you control the world, but because you stop sending mixed signals. In physics, waves in phase resonate. In consciousness, aligned energy opens the door to new realities. Inner freedom is the state where you need not change circumstances to feel peace. You can stand in a crowd and still hold the frequency of silence. You can hear hundreds of voices and not lose your own. When others judge, you do not pull back your energy to defend. You simply smile, knowing they speak from their own rhythm, not yours. When someone attacks, you do not retaliate. You step half a beat inward and feel the current of energy still vibrating steadily around your heart's axis. Emotions may rise, but you do not become them. That means you are still free. Your nervous system is the gateway of the soul. Every breath, every heartbeat, every small decision sends signals into the field surrounding you. When your rhythm stays calm, when thought, emotion, and action move in unison, that field turns transparent. The world begins to respond with images of the same frequency. You see what you think, meet what you feel, become what you choose. It is no longer magic, but the natural mechanics of the universe. And then you understand, freedom is not escaping constraints, but dissolving into their structure without resistance. Freedom is not silent retreat, but stillness within motion. Not standing outside of life, but standing within it without losing yourself. When you hold your core rhythm, you no longer need to control anyone, for all control is born of fear. You let everything move by natural law, and in that surrender, the highest order emerges. Your core frequency is the sound the universe sang before you were born. When you live in harmony with it, you need not seek the path appears. You need not wish for luck arrives. You need not prove worth, value shines by itself. And in that moment, you no longer ask the world how to be free. because you already are an energy field stable, silent, yet powerful enough to soften even the most chaotic vibrations around you. Between stimulus and response, there is a space so small, it is almost invisible, yet it determines your entire destiny. That is where choice begins. The quantum pause, or the principle of quantum stillness, is not a technique, but a level of awareness. When you know how to stop, not to avoid, but to reorder, you return to the position of the observer, the wave operator, no longer swept into the vortex of impulses. A single second of pause does not just slow time, it expands space. Between the inhale and the exhale, there is a door. In that moment, the entire nervous system shifts mode. The brain exits the fight state. Beta waves subside. Alpha waves spread like gentle light. The heart resets its rhythm. The electromagnetic field around you comes into coherence. Emotions once boiling dissolve into wave patterns. And the higher consciousness, the part that remains silent within, steps forward to lead. No miracle happens there. Only the subtle physics of stillness. Raw energy becomes refined energy. Reflex turns into awareness. Instinct becomes will. Each time you pause, you do not merely control emotion. You reshape the very orbit of your vibration. The quantum pause is the intersection between two worlds, between reaction and creation, between old and new, between who you were and who you are becoming. When someone says something that hurts you, your body triggers a series of biological signals. Heat rises, heart races, breath shortens. If you let it, that energy bursts into fire. But if you stop one deep breath, you turn that fire into light. Anger, fear, urgency, all require energy to exist. And when you do not react, they lose their supply. Thus, in a single second of stillness, you dissolve an entire chain of reflexes that psychology might take years to name. No one can make you lose your calm unless you forget you have the right to pause. The quantum pause is not passive silence. It is the active claim of awareness. You stand behind all motion, see the entire picture, knowing you are not the emotion. You are the space through which emotion passes. In that moment, energy returns to center, wisdom returns to the heart, and you ascend to a higher frequency. Others may speak, act, or try to pull you down, yet you see they are simply moving within their own frequency. You hold your rhythm, and the world begins to recalibrate to you. When you practice this principle often, you realize that every conversation, every event, every conflict is merely a test to see whether you still remember your right to pause. Each timely pause frees you from collective momentum, from ego, and brings you back to the pure field of creation. The quantum pause is the art of the spiritually mature, those who need not win, need not rush, only need to be in tune. And at that frequency, time slows, light expands, and everything that comes to you has already been arranged. For in the world of awareness, those who know how to pause are not slower, they are already ahead. Practicing the pause is training the mind to return before it is swept away. You cannot avoid impact, but you can choose not to merge with chaos. When someone throws sharp words, when circumstances shift suddenly, or when a wave of emotion rises in your chest, just stop, not to suppress, but to see. For seeing is liberation. One breath, one moment of expansion, and the energy that was about to explode dissolves into the light of awareness. Silence within the pause is not avoidance. It is the highest form of self-mastery. When you do not respond immediately, others may think you are weak, but you know you are holding your energy intact, refusing to let it drop to a lower frequency. You are doing what most of humanity has yet to learn, adjusting the wave instead of reacting to it. The outside may be noisy, but within you, space remains open, still, structured. Amid the dense vibrations of collective emotion, you become the point of stillness where surrounding energy reconfigures itself. Each time you choose silence over argument, you strengthen a different kind of intelligence, the intelligence of restraint. In physics, energy is preserved when not dispersed. In consciousness, Power is preserved when not wasted through needless words. When you are silent, energy pools like a calm lake. The stiller the surface, the clearer the reflection. In stillness, you begin to hear what noise never allows. The voice of intuition, the subtle streams of information that appear only when the energy field is clear enough. You need not answer quickly, for you know that true answers arise only after silence has cleansed the old reactions. The sovereignty of silence belongs to those who have transcended instinct. It is not indifference, but the ability to choose timing when to speak, what to say, and when to let silence speak for you. A person with sovereign silence is not provoked by the noise of life, nor driven by the urge to prove. They understand that silence is sometimes the strongest frequency in the room. In silence, they do not weaken. They gather energy so that when words come, each one carries the weight of 1,000 refined thoughts. Pause and silence are two beats of the same lesson, holding your energetic rhythm in a constantly vibrating world. One deep breath is pause, one unsaid word is silence. Both are silent declarations of self-command. When you pause, you break the old impulse. When you stay silent, you conserve your power. And then you realize it is not those who speak much that influence the world, but those who know when to pause, when to be still. For the universe always hears most clearly the souls who speak in the frequency of stillness. No two energy fields are ever identical, just as no two melodies are played in the same rhythm. Each human being is a unique spectrum of frequencies, woven from memories, experiences, beliefs, and unhealed wounds. When two frequencies meet, they may resonate or cancel, harmonize or distort, not because one is right and the other wrong, but because their vibrations exist at different levels. When you understand this, you stop trying to make others like you and begin to honor their natural rhythm. Difference no longer feels like a battleground, but a lesson in the vastness of awareness. Energy boundaries are not walls, but filters. They do not separate you from the world. They prevent you from dissolving into someone else's frequency. Whenever you feel exhausted after a conversation, drained after helping someone, or heavy simply from hearing another story, it is a sign that your energy boundaries are leaking. You are not wrong for loving, but love does not mean merging. You can empathize without absorbing, listen without carrying. When your boundaries are firm, you become a sustainable source of light. When thin, you are only a candle swayed by the wind. Maintaining energetic boundaries is learning to say no without closing the heart, to know when to open and when to fold. Not everyone who arrives carries pure intention, and not every vibration deserves entry. In the subtle world, each interaction is an exchange of energy, and every word you speak, every gaze you hold, sends signals into the quantum field. When you are too open, chaotic frequencies flood your system. When you are too closed, you block the flow of love. Balance lies in knowing who you are in every moment. No need for walls, only the strength of alignment. Frequency differences between people are not tragedy, but proof of consciousness, diversity. Some live in the frequency of fear, so they speak with suspicion. Some live in desire, so they tend to possess. Some live in healing, so they do not talk much, but radiate peace. When you meet someone who pulls you down, do not judge, just recognize that they vibrate lower, and you have the right not to adjust downward. Holding your frequency is an act of self-love, not selfishness. Only when you are stable can you help others retune their rhythm. Energy boundaries are invisible, yet the awakened can feel them. They are the quiet layer around you where words cannot pierce and emotional waves cannot break. When these boundaries are strengthened, you no longer need to defend, for nothing can intrude. You begin to live as a broadcasting center, serene, luminous, self-regulating. Then you realize it was never the world that tired you. It was you forgetting to hold your frequency. When you return, the universe synchronizes again, and all differences become harmonies, converging toward light. Anger is the subtlest form of energetic imprisonment. When you are angry, energy is not lost, it is trapped in the body, forming small vortices that drag your frequency downward. The heartbeat grows heavy, Breath shortens. The mind clouds like a mirror covered in dust. You think you are strong, but in truth, you are contracting. Anger focuses energy on what you do not want, making it more real. Every time you rage, you feed what hurts you. Letting go is not forgiving others. It is refusing to fuel what is unworthy of your power. Releasing anger does not mean forgetting or pretending to be calm. It is the lucid act of one who understands the laws of energy. You cannot enter higher frequencies while your hands still clutch a burning coal. When you release it, old energy dissolves. New space opens. The field around you shifts phase from heavy to light, from hot to warm, from resistance to flow. In that breath, old wounds reorganize themselves. You do not erase memory. You simply stop letting it define the present. In that instant, the past loses control, and the present ascends. Remember, forgiveness is not an outward act, but an inward motion. You are not pardoning them. You are freeing yourself from their frequency. As long as you blame, they live within you. When you release, you free both. In physics, energy never disappears. It only transforms. In consciousness, anger is the same. When seen in the light of understanding, it becomes wisdom. Like fire, if burned in darkness, it consumes. If lit in awareness, it illuminates. Every emotion holds a seed of awakening when you look through it instead of reacting to it. Letting go of anger is the practice of presence. When you are here, the whole, you cannot simultaneously hold resentment. Anger belongs to time, to what is past or what is anticipated. Presence is timeless, where energy only expands. When you return to breath, to heartbeat, to this moment, every storm loses force. You do not try to forget or to analyze. You simply watch it dissolve. The silence within you is not avoidance, but transcendence. At this level, you need not defeat anyone. You only need not lose yourself. That is the supreme power of one who understands energy. I believe that by the time you read this, something within you has already softened. Perhaps an old memory is being released. Perhaps just a breath lighter than usual. Let that be the beginning. Releasing anger does not happen once, but through every conscious moment. When you choose silence over reaction, understanding over blame, movement over staying in the storm, and one day, you realize you need no apology, no perfection, to feel peace, because peace does not come from the world, but from the frequency you choose to sustain. To me, true strength does not lie in winning or proving, but in transforming dense energy into light. Begin with one breath, one moment of stillness, one decision not to hold what weighs you down. Each time you release anger, you expand space for love. Each time you choose presence, you become proof that wisdom and peace can coexist in this life. And if I could leave you one thought today, focus less on who is right or wrong, and more on the frequency you are vibrating at. For where the frequency is high, anger cannot exist. Only the light of the free remains.